Hello, everybody, and welcome to MS Office Hours. Today is Thursday, November 2nd. I am co-host.
Hi, I'm Victoria Dean.
Hey, I'm Garrett Chandler.
And I am Andrea Singrio. And we're really excited today to have Emma Gray with us. In fact, she popped in a few minutes late because she was getting recognition earlier today for being with Microsoft for a year and a new promotion. So we're really excited to celebrate Emma today on this call as well. And hopefully I'm trying to stall so somebody can make her a presenter.
Well, you know what I'll say is, Andrea, I may have forgotten you were in town, but you almost forgot how to say your own last name. So I think that maybe we are completely even at this point. But while we're trying to get her connected properly, we actually saw some cool things internally today. If our team members happen to be on, we had a roadmap call. There are some amazing new things that are on the roadmap. What Emma's going to share today are things that we used to see on the roadmap of it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And if you're an NDA customer, it was stuff that we were constantly, being told like, hang on, it's almost here. And so it's exciting to know that this is something we can actually like fully talk about. But I'm still not seeing your name, Emma.
I've just joined again. Oh, that's such a shame. Well, we can pivot. We always can do that. Andrea, I have sent you the link to the deck. So we can do this the old-fashioned way, perhaps have you click things through.
See, it's called troubleshooting. There's always, this is when we were Andrea and I were both instructional tech coaches. And one of the things, while she's getting that pulled up, one of the things that we always had to do is when we were working with teachers, the tech would fail. It would always fail. And so what we had to do is kind of teach them, like, how do you keep moving? Like, how do you, like Emma said, pivot? How do you change quickly so that you're trying not to disrupt instruction as much as humanly possible? There's always some kind of fallback. Yes, Karen.
Oh, it looks like Emma is a presenter now.
Woo-hoo! Yay. All right, Emma.
Thank you, Dwayne. All right.
Which this just shows our vulnerability, right? We also have tech issues. Emma is not in timeout. She is showcasing
Microsoft employees. We're just like you.
All right. It's all your show, Emma.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all for being here. I've just tried to make PowerPoint live work. Can I get a thumbs up from folks if you can see my screen? Excellent. Okay, cool. Hey, everyone. My name is Emma Gray. I am a product manager here on the EDU team. You may have heard of Mike Tholfsen. I work with him pretty closely. Anu Padte as well, another one of our wonderful PMs, is my new manager. I'm here to talk about Search Progress and Search Coach today. And before I get started, I just want to read the room. Some of you are higher ed, some of you are K-12. If you're higher ed, can you give me some applause right now? I'm going to see if I can gauge this. Give me... There we go. Excellent. And some hand raises. I make that mistake all the time. Excellent. Cool. Okay. That's a lot of class. How about K-12? I'll make sure that I'm speaking most to folks who are here. I'm seeing a nice combination. More higher eds. I'll make sure that we're touching on K-12 scenarios as well. Awesome. The reason I bring that up is because Search Progress and Coach is one of our most versatile learning accelerators when it comes to the ages and stages at which we are able to bring these tools into the classroom. And so moving along, oh, these ones have the fancy animations. You've probably seen this before. Our Learning Accelerators, Reading Progress and Coach, Math Progress, private preview coming soon, very exciting. Drop a message in the chat if you're interested in that and I can hook you up. Microsoft Reflect, of course, Search Progress and Search Coach for information literacy, coming soon, Speaker Progress. And of course, we know Speaker Coach already exists in PowerPoint and Teams. And then tying many of them together, we have, of course, Education Insights. So we can bring forward the layer cake just to get a better sense of everything and how it all fits. Learning accelerators currently live inside of Teams. Some of them will poke their heads out elsewhere. You've got Reading Coach and Immersive Reader, for example. And Search Progress and Coach currently live inside of Teams. So Teams assignment or Teams classes in a tab app form. I will bring this along. You've probably heard all of this before. These learning accelerators are about bringing real-time coaching to students. They're super inclusive, and they help educators primarily save time and empower them with data that helps them make more informed decisions about how to proceed in the classroom. The general difference, people ask this all the time, between progress and coach. Progress is in Teams assignments. That's the only place you'll find it. And then real learning coaches are that real-time coaching piece. It's more student-facing, student-driven, and those are going to appear everywhere, all over the place, depending on where you look. Now, today we're going to talk about information literacy. It's a very timely thing, given that Media Literacy Week was just last week, if I recall correctly, at least in the States. And we know a couple of things are true around information literacy in the classroom. We know teachers really struggle to prioritize this if it isn't in their core mandate. We know that students, even though they're digital natives, really struggle to figure out whether websites are credible. It's harder now than it ever has been. And we also know that it's hard to understand when you get an assignment turned in, how students found certain sources. We hear this a lot. Educators send students off into the void of the internet. And when the students come back with their lists of works cited, it's not entirely clear where they found them or how. And that can be really difficult when it comes to teaching then sort of beyond the list of works cited there. We also know that librarians are typically our champions for information literacy in schools, and that remains true. However, they tend to be understaffed and they lack those frequent daily opportunities to engage with students. So that's what Search Progress and Search Coach aim to target here. So we really want to bring, this slide looks a lot like the last one, Learning Accelerators, same deal, real-time coaching for students, streamlined assignments and time saving for educators, and then those insights. And this was a really tough nut to crack for us for Search, but I'm excited to show you what we landed on. Now, I'll jump on forward. We know that media literacy and information literacy are especially critical right now, whether it was during the pandemic, whether it's during recent world events. With the rise of AI, we understand that it's going to be more and more important for students to be able to discern what is credible online and what isn't. This has mental health implications, it has professional implications, it has academic implications. This really has become a core skill set that we need to make sure that we're helping support in classrooms through K-12 and into higher education. Now, who's this for? It's for everyone. And I wanted to make a note here, especially because this is an American audience. Media literacy education is appearing in legislation across the states in a bipartisan or a nonpartisan way the majority of the time. So this is something that spans political boundaries. It's something where we really just want to empower this next generation of critical thinkers as it becomes more challenging and as the internet gets more and more complicated and full of different types of content. So I'll call that one out. Who's it for? We've had first graders learn how to search for the first time with Search Coach. We've had first year university courses, research courses, bringing search progress into the classroom. So all sorts of different applications here. And we certainly didn't build this alone. We worked with all sorts of wonderful librarians and educators, researchers, Dr. Sam Weinberg at Stanford, who I will call out again later. Really wonderful people who brought their expertise to these products and continue to, and I will nod to that a little bit more later. So Search Coach, what is it? It's in Teams for Education. It's a tab app. So you can install it with that little plus button up at the top. I'll show you in a second. Learners get the standalone app. They can use it anytime. And then educators get time-boxed insights for the students themselves and for the class as a whole. Now, these are really interesting for in-class instructional activities. So I'm going to walk you through a click through of what that looks like, mostly because I couldn't get my demo tenant to work today. I apologize for the lack of live demo. We're going to click into Search Coach here. And of course, we'll note if Search Coach doesn't exist as a tab app, I can hit the plus button here and I can install it myself. It's available in over 40 languages at the moment. So really working on that global perspective here to support folks all over the place. Clicking into Search Coach, this is something a teacher will see or also a student. We can see we've got a number of different menus, and I'll explain those in a second, but let's start with a query. Are dogs better than cats? I don't know if you've tried this yourself before, but what you'll notice is that all of the results are going to tend to lean towards dogs being better than cats. A controversial opinion, of course, and the inverse is true. If I was going to look up, are cats better than dogs, I would find a number of articles explaining why cats are better than dogs. And so this is a really pointed example of how important it is that we ask questions in the right way if we're trying to get objective results online. There are more complicated and more nuanced examples than this, of course, but this is just a simple one that you could try to prove it to yourself. Now, notice as well, Search Coach has a search tip up in there. So this is something that's identified the biased way that I'm asking this question, or the biased way the search engine might interpret it. And it can actually flag that for me and suggest, in the actual app will suggest a different way for me to type this question. Scrolling on down, we can see, oh, we have a NewsGuard rating. So this is another partner of ours. They've partnered all the way up through Microsoft. You'll find this for free as an Edge extension as well. This is a nutrition label. So all that this tells you here, and what it would tell your students, is how much a certain resource adheres to journalistic integrity standards. It's not whether the site is good or whether it's bad, but do they disclose who funds them? Do they avoid deceptive headlines? Do they clearly label advertising? Simple things that just present more information as you're navigating the internet. Moving on, we can see all of these menu buttons here, and as you click in, you can see a number of different options here. If I were to click .edu, you can see site:/edu appear in that search bar. Now, for those of you who are familiar with search patterns, this is actually going to limit my search results to be .edu websites. And I will hit the next button. Here you can see we have a file types menu and a date range menu and operators as well. And this just makes it much more visual. All these different advanced search techniques that are honored by the Googles and the Bings of the world are also honored in Search Coach and actually brought to the forefront so you can learn how to better refine your searching. Moving along, as an educator, you have access to class settings, especially good in K-12, but also nice for higher education, depending on the types of sources you want to encourage your students to search for. So here you can see I might set up a whole list of sites for my class, and then my students will see as well this new button that appears that allows me to filter for different websites. And of course, other great options of fact check, something that just shortlists a number of fact check websites online, same kind of idea, just makes it easier to access. Now, insights in Search Coach are where things start to get really interesting. These are actionable insights. It's very real time. We have teachers who have this up on their own screens in class, and they can tell which students are engaging or not engaging with an exercise as the numbers update in real time. And so you can see here I'm in the Insights tab. I can see a Search Coach Trends card. And here I can see a view of all of my students. And you can also see how often they only opened the first results from their searches. Now that's a really interesting one. There's a good practice called a click restraint, which is not just clicking on the first thing that is shown to you, but instead scrolling around a little bit and trying to figure out what best answers your question. So you can actually track how well your students are practicing click restraint. Where they only open the first result before moving on by looking at these numbers. Other ones, how often are different filters used? What are the most common domains, not just that are visited by my students, but shown to them in the first place? So imagine you're doing an in-class activity where everyone's doing research around a certain topic, and there's a domain that was surfaced 300 times and visited twice. Now you have an interesting talking point to launch off of as you're discussing with your students how you might, why they're not choosing to access this website. And we can really have some interesting conversations around that. And then, of course, the fan favorite, a common search words word cloud. This is, again, another really fun one. If you've been working on a topic for a number of months, you can see what the most common terms were that appeared for your class's searches. And this is a fun thing to surface at the end of a lesson or the end of a longer period of time. Of course, you can click into each individual student as well, pull these insights up for them to have another conversation. And we've been hearing wonderful things about this so far. Search Coach was launched in February. We have a really solid recurring user base across spanning grade levels and higher education now. And it's all about surfacing more information so that students can exercise their information literacy skills in another environment. Now, the natural next thing, of course, is how do we build this into Teams assignments? Surely, instead of this open world of search, we can close things down just a little bit to help this really support research assignments in school. And this could be in K-12, it could be in early research courses in higher education. In fact, we know of a research class in higher ed that introduced a spreadsheet that tried to play the role of search progress where students had to record the query, that they typed in, record the source that they chose to save, and then justify why they saved it. And this was something we found out months and months after we had finished designing search progress. And you're going to see why I thought this was funny in a second. But this kind of brings that showing your work piece of a math problem into your research process. So for the longest time, students have shown their work as they've done math. You get part marks, right? If you're doing things along the way that are right, and then even if you may take a misstep or a wrong turn along the way, that's okay, because we can see your process and you can get rewarded for what you did do right. And so learners get this opportunity to then be rewarded for the process of their research, and educators get this unprecedented transparency into, not like Big Brother looking over your shoulder, but hey, tell me what you're thinking and really explain to me why you chose this. It gives students this extra visibility into their minds, or a new opportunity to advocate for themselves and their thinking as well. So what does that look like? Like any learning accelerator that is a progress app, it lives in Teams assignments, which the teacher can create an assignment, student completes it, and then of course we can review it as the educator at the end and track our progress and insights. So teacher's turn to make a search progress Teams assignment. This is your typical Teams assignments flow. Of course, we have our lovely new Learning Accelerators button here. And under reading progress, we now see search progress. Clicking in, we see this lovely first run experience page and then an assignment settings sidebar. So you can choose the minimum number of sources you want your students to collect. Coming soon, you can enable and disable a citations feature. More on that later. You can customize or disable altogether the explanation piece. This is one of the most powerful pieces of the app. And then there's also a reflection prompt, something where they can look at everything they've done at the end, and I'll show you what that looks like, and really lean into that metacognition part of the process. Why, how was I learning? What worked well? What didn't work well? And can I identify, these productive patterns in myself in the future? How can I do this better next time? So that reflection really is built in every step of the way. Now I'm happy with those different explanation and reflection prompts. I am in Teams assignments again, go through, make sure there's a title and a description I'm happy with, and then I hit the assign button. Now, what I see as a student is, again, some work attached to a new assignment. I can click into that, and I see something that looks a lot like Search Coach on the left and a brand new collection sidebar on the right. So I can expand and collapse the assignment's instructions, and I can see my educator wants me to find 5 different sources. So if I open a website, and we will see if this lets me do this here next. You can see, I can read through, I'm like, this seems like a pretty good resource, nice, I'll close it, and now I'll see a nice green highlight on the save as a source. So we click this here, and what do we see? It shows up on the right-hand side, along with the query that got me there, and an opportunity to justify my reasoning. Now this happens right when I make this decision, so it should be fresh in my brain. It makes it a lot easier than doing this retrospectively at the end. Now move along, we can see here, where we go. The next button's not working. There we go. We've filled out all of the different sources. Wonderful. We can move on then to our summary page, where we can see the instructions and a full annotated list of the searches that I've done, along with how many websites I opened versus how many I saved over that course of time. I can then go back to my reflection and explain what I think worked well and what I think didn't work well as part of this process. Now, of course, if I'm the educator in control here, I can change this prompt. So instead of it just being look at the searches which were most effective, it could be rank these based on reliability, or rank them based on which you think you will use in next week's presentation. So moving along, I also have an opportunity to scroll down and take a look and edit anything that is not as it seems. So NASA's the government, maybe I want to change that one, who knows. You'll notice the copy all button as well. This copies all of my sources, queries, and explanations in a really easy format that I can then paste into my Word documents or PowerPoints down the line. Now, final step, educator insights in search progress. This was a tricky one, but we're pretty happy with where we've landed. Educators can hit the compare to class button to understand how their students were searching compared to their classmates. So same deal, they can see on a student level the different searches that happened, the different explanations for every source. If they want to bring this somewhere else for grading altogether, copy all works just as you would expect for your students. And then I can open up my insights cards. So by clicking this, I can see how many searches my student did compared to the class median, how many with filters compared to the class median, and of course a class data overview, including the common search phrases. And so again, this is something that'd be nice to review with the class as a whole. It's interesting to see where the overlap is in the questions the students are asking. And moving along, another insights card, saved sources. How many compared to the class? How many searches did I do that resulted in saved sources? Could this be a proxy for efficacy? That's an open question. And also, how many times the sources I saved were saved by my classmates? Same kind of idea here. It's a cross-sectional view of the class that I would never have had access to before, and it can spark some really interesting discussions. Of course, you can see the class-wide view of that for sharing later as well. Finally, we've got links opened. So on the leftmost column, you can see what the rank order was of each source that was opened, which is interesting, right? It's not just did you open the first result, but did you choose different results from different parts of your search ranking there? And what could that mean for me? And how often were they opened by my classmates? The same kind of idea. Now, I want to make sure we have time for questions. So I'll zip on through these parts. This is a really nice screenshotable piece. It's just something that illustrates the difference between Search Coach and Progress. Of course, Coach is that ad hoc searching on the student side, and Progress is the assignment. Upcoming features: export and citations, image search further down the line, and more online lesson plans. I also wanted to call out, and this is a quick one for our K-12s in the audience, that we're partnering with Dr. Weinberg's Stanford History Education Group, which is now called the Digital Inquiry Group, in order to set up new lesson modules and actually do an efficacy study with Search Progress and Search Coach. So if you're interested in piloting that new curriculum, if you're interested in, or you know someone who would be, drop me a line. I'll make sure my email's in the chat there. And then finally, I thought I would plug the other information literacy effort going on at Microsoft right now, which is our Minecraft EDU experience. Again, for the K-12s in the audience, this is a brand new free world all about information literacy, and it comes with everything you might want, like lesson objectives, guides, presentation guides, like formative assessments, anything that you might need, all of that right there. And I will finish up with a page that is also easy to screenshot with blogs, courses, demos, stories of other schools and the way that they've done it. And then I will take a pause there. Can follow up on the chat as well, but I'm happy to take any questions at this time. There's a lot of information.
All right, folks, what you got? Anything? Thankfully, there's so many links for you to follow up on, which is fantastic. Any other questions?
Looks like we have a line of hand raises.
Excellent. Let's do hand raises.
Tracy, I think, might be the first person. Tracy, if you want to come off mute if you still have a question. If not, we'll just go down the line here.
That is funny because I am like,
I see no hands. Oh, I see Tracy's now.
Yeah,
it was delayed on my end. Sorry, I don't know why it raised my hand. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Hi, Tracy.
Probably phantom hand raises for who's in higher ed and who's in K-12. What about you, Greg?
Maybe it was
all right, Greg. That might be another one. Jason, do you have a question? All right, anybody with their hand raised? Deb, Corey.
I don't see any.
That's a great question. Chelsea or Chris just dropped in the chat. Is Search Coach only available in Teams for EDU, or is it available in normal corporate enterprise teams, commercial? I don't know what they call non-EDU teams. Just teams? I don't know.
It is just EDU right now, if I understand it, because you've got the teacher side and the student side. I will log this as a potential interest in the corporate side of things. We're always listening for different kinds of feedback there. So if the Search Coach experience would be useful for corporate use cases, and we've heard this a couple of times now, know that I'm taking notes. Is it something that can be embedded within a Microsoft Teams classroom? I think is that the same question, Chris? I'm not sure I understand your question. I think he said.
Yeah, I think he means can it be embedded, like if you have a team within Teams, all of our, well, not all of them, but you could have class teams, and I think they're wondering, can that be embedded in that class team, maybe in a channel or something like that, versus the assignments section.
It can be a tab, right, Emma?
It can be a tab app. Yep. So for Search Coach, so you won't get the progress functionality where the student's collecting the sources, but for the Open Search Coach experience, that's a tab app that can be installed at the top of any class team. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible for folks. And we're exploring other potential surfaces for Search Coach in the future, but I will keep that comment there and have further updates for you all if we get anything locked in.
All right. Well, wonderful. Yeah, so we will, Emma, is there a way, is this a presentation deck that we are able to share broadly?
You betcha. Yeah. So we've got this. Search Coach only works with class teams. I think it might work with faculty teams as well, but it's all in Teams for Education, Carlos. Answering the question I'm seeing in the chat here. This deck can be shared. I've got if folks are interested in this content and they share their email, I've got a whole folder that I share sometimes. It's got different links and downloadables, PDFs, anything you might possibly need, this deck, other decks. So sort of the one-stop shop.
That would be fantastic. We'll share that out, and what I'll do is I will stop the recording for now, and where's my recording? Stop. We will stop the recording, and then